Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to the new channel. If you don't already know me, my name's Jesse, and I'm actually coming to you from Jamaica today. There's Jamaica. I'm at the end of this vacation now. I've been at this resort for about a week straight, partying it up and playing a lot of pool volleyball. So I figure it's been the last day of this trip. Just spend some time on the computer working on the YouTube videos. I know if I don't get it done now, it's probably not going to get set up for the rest of the year. So without further ado, let's dive back into this Panama City Beach Flight footage from April of 2024. I'll start talking about that flight and also a bit about the YouTube channel in general, what to expect content-wise moving forward. So yeah, enjoy. So for this particular flight in Panama City Beach, I was flying the Lower Lagoon and Shell Island area. I decided to take off from the jetties because I had the most options for takeoffs, landings. It was a much more open space, and with me being so relatively new pilot, my first real flights of the season, I wanted as much leeway for air as I could get. I do need to point out, though, that technically the jetties where I took off from is not actually a legal flying site for paramotors. I did find this out later on a different flight from St. Joe's Peninsula when I was approached by a couple of forest rangers who let me know that I am not allowed to fly any paramotors like this or any other objects from any Florida state park. So it is a $75 fine, just FYI, if you are caught. They let me off with a warning at St. Joe's, but I just want to pass it on to anyone else watching this. If you're thinking from flying from any Florida coastlines, just make sure it's not in the state park. Public beaches are fine. As far as I know, you can still fly over the state parks as long as you're still in Class G or uncontrolled E airspace. You just cannot launch and land from these sites. So for the first part of this flight, I'm mostly just flying a straight line back and forth between the Lower Lagoon and the Shell Island Beach on the Gulf side. Right here you can see me flying over the St. Andrews Pass, and some of you might be wondering, what the heck are you doing? What happens if your motor goes out? You're over all that water. How do you land? So whenever you're flying over big bodies of water like this, you just need to make sure you have enough altitude to either turn around and glide back to your original destination, or if you have enough altitude to keep gliding to where you're headed, that's fine too. You just got to make sure you're high enough that you can glide anywhere. I do also have flotation on board of my paramotor, so if I do happen to have a water landing event, I do have floats that will deploy and keep me afloat while I try to get out of the water and safely to shore. Now that we made it over to Shell Island, I do want to touch on airspace real quick. If you are a paramotor pilot and you're thinking about flying in the area, you should know that there is Tyndall Air Force Base in the area, and their controlled airspace does cut through the middle of Shell Island. So I did take note of this before I started my flight. I made sure to stay on the western portion of the island and not cross over that boundary where they have their controlled airspace. So just something to look out for if you're thinking about flying this area as well. So now that we've discussed a bit about the safer, smarter decisions I made on this flight, let's talk a little bit about risk tolerance and progressing in the sport in a slow and safe manner. Part of the reasons why I love to record all of my flights is I get to go back and look at them and say, was this a good idea or a bad idea? So in this section of the flight, I am flying along Shell Island. Note the word island. This is a very deserted beach where I am now trying to practice for the first time some low-flying maneuvers. What makes paramotoring one of the coolest forms of aviation, in my opinion, is being able to do this type of low and slow flying, getting up close and personal with your environment, with the ground, other geological features. It's what makes this really neat. However, it does take a lot of practice to really hone in your skills to make sure that you're doing this safely. So with this being my first time attempting low flying maneuvers like this, I'm just taking it easy. I'm just going back and forth with some very small turns, trying to understand how each brake input affects my altitude, the energy of the glider, how much throttle I need to maintain my altitude, the response of the throttle, and how that correlates to just the overall handling of the glider and how to do these low altitude maneuvers. So this is a good choice for learning this because it's a deserted beach and I'm not endangering anyone else's life by doing this. The downside is that I did fly across a big body of water and I'm far from my friends and other people if I did go down and needed help. So that is definitely influencing my decision making as I make sure I'm being extra cautious while I try this for the first time. To be clear, you should always learn any new maneuvers on a paragliding wing up high with plenty of altitude to give you a chance to correct for any small errors you might make. Always fly with reserve in case the worst should happen and you need to deploy that reserve. Everything I'm doing here, I've learned up high already. I already understand the basic characteristics of the wing, how the brake inputs impact the flight of the wing. However, once you start flying closer to the ground, like under 50 feet, it becomes much more apparent how quickly your altitude may be changing, and that gives you the opportunity to get much finer feedback in how your glider is performing, how it's handling, and it ultimately makes you a better pilot as you become more familiar with just how precise you need to be with some of your inputs to get the desired flight results. Alright, so I'll end my whole spiel on the slow, safe progression of the paramotoring and how this flight kind of fits into that. I'll take a little break from talking, switch to some music while we enjoy this beautiful scenery, and I'll come back in a bit to talk a little bit about this YouTube channel in general, why I started it, what to expect, and that sort of stuff. So, see you in a bit. Before we start talking about the YouTube channel in general, I just wanted to throw this up and show the second part of my flight. I did come back across St. Andrews Pass, and then this time I flew northeast up along the Lower Lagoon, across St. Andrews Bay, and I'm about to be flying along the backside of Shell Island. This is one of the most scenic flights I've ever had when I get down low around Shell Island, so definitely stay tuned for that. So why am I creating this new YouTube channel? Well, if you don't already know, I actually already have a YouTube channel where I've been posting all of my uncut paramotoring flight footage. If you just type in my name, search Jesse Seibert, and look for the channel that has a picture of me as a high schooler standing in front of a Ford GT, that's where you can find all of the uncut paramotoring footage. It's been very low effort. I haven't had much time to do any editing or do anything with the footage except for just throw it on YouTube uncut. And I understand that's not the most appealing type of video to watch. Some people like it. Some people love watching uncut footage. I am one of those people where every now and then it's kind of nice just to throw that on in the background and listen to the two-stroke engine hum and just see some cool flights from other people. But I know it's not everyone's thing. So I got all this footage up in the cloud. I've been thinking about doing something with it for a while, and now I'm finally pulling the trigger, trying to get this set up and going so that I can make my own YouTube channel. If you can't already tell by this video, the first few videos are definitely going to be a little bit rough as I try to figure out this video editing software and how to make a YouTube video in general. Full transparency, I'm actually doing this voiceover inside of the bathroom of my hotel room right now. Not because I want to, but because they are making so much noise outside of my resort that I am forced to record from inside of this echo chamber of a tile bathroom. Regarding the types of videos that I will be posting, this is probably going to be the longest video of me just talking into the void over paramotoring footage. I just wanted to make this first video to at least practice talking about a flight in general, and to also take the time to explain about the channel, with this being the first video. Moving forward, I can't say I know exactly what kind of content I'm going to be posting. I have some ideas for different video clips, and I'll probably just be throwing some stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I already have a couple of other video clips edited from a couple weeks ago that I want to post after I get this first video out the door. For example, this video we're looking at of the Shell Island flight right now, I already did make a video clip of it with some record scratching music over the background, and I got really, we'll say, creative with all the different color tint settings and filters in this video editing software. Not gonna lie, it kind of looks like some sort of psychedelic experience. Not that I know what that is, but it does look pretty groovy and cool. I'm not sure if anyone else is gonna like it, but I like it, so I'll post it anyways. So that's just gonna be the general vibe of how this YouTube channel is gonna end up working. I'll just be experimenting with different types of videos that I think are cool and that I enjoy. And if anybody actually happens to watch this channel, wants to leave comments or like or subscribe or any of that stuff, any feedback would be appreciated, so I understand what you guys might like, so I can make more of that kind of content. Otherwise, I know I'll definitely be making videos about safety and any learnings that I had while I've been flying. We all want a good, safe paramotoring community, so any chance that I get to share learnings that I've had, mistakes that I've made, just so anyone else who's in a similar situation coming up and learning about paramotoring and trying to fly themselves can learn from my mistakes so that they don't repeat the same ones and maybe end up in a worse situation than I might have ended up. Speaking of which, we actually have a learning opportunity coming up here shortly from a slight mistake that I made. This mistake is definitely due to me only having 10 hours or so of paramotor flight experience, and for this also being my first flight near any sort of big body of water. So when you learn your launches and landings inland, and you have a bunch of space and big fields to practice your launches and landings, you tend to set up to have a much longer approach than you might need as you're learning. And right here you can see me starting to get out a bit far over the water at a lower altitude, where if I had a motor out, I would not be able to glide back to the beach. Thankfully, I did not have a motor out. Like I said, I also had flotation on board, so if I did have a water landing, I should have still survived it. However, this is not a situation that you want to get in, so if you're thinking about flying near big bodies of water for the first time, just make sure you figure out how to come in for a landing with a much shorter approach, maybe practice some spot landings, and that should help you avoid a situation like this. So that's all. Sorry for the terrible first video. I promise the next ones will be better. We only have up to go from here. Yes, that pun was intended. So let's just play this landing out with some music, and I'll see you guys later.